Leaders were quite critical of what you did, particularly in terms of police-involved shootings and other matters you've litigated.
I had no idea that Fox News would be a hostile environment for my particular brand, but now that I'm here, it's awkward. We really should watch more Fox News. You know, I feel like we give Fox a pass just because, you know, their median age is what, like 60 to death? Something around there. I don't know. But because of that, we should be watching more Fox News. We should give Fox News their time in the sun, as I think they've earned it. And let's hear a little bit from Pete Buttigieg talking about who he thinks will win in Iowa.
Democrats making their final appeal to voters as the 2020 race officially kicks off right here in Iowa tonight. Here with us now live is Democratic presidential hopeful Pete Buttigieg. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you being here.
Thanks
I don't know if you want it.
It's good to be here.
The endorsement from Karl Rove wasn't a full endorsement, but he just said a moment ago that he thinks you might exceed expectations tonight.
Well, I'd hate to come on TV and set an expectation that I'm going to come in ahead of expectations, but what I...
Oh, you hear that? You hear that, everyone? Yeah, you know, I'd hate to come on and set an expectation and not be able to live up to my expectations, but it's good to be here. Yeah, yes. Thank you for having both Pete and Buttigieg on the same time.
I will say is that we feel a lot of strength on the ground. We had a fantastic pair of events yesterday in the Iowa City area.
And you know what's interesting? He said before, on the record, that he only respects strength. That's it. No weakness allowed. It's strength or nothing for Pete Buttigieg. Look at this man. A man who oozes strength, conviction, determination, proper facial structure.
And here in Des Moines, but also we've been in a lot of the counties that famously switched from President Obama to Trump, and we're seeing folks come out of the woodwork, not just diehard Democrats, but some more independent-minded folks, disaffected Republicans, looking for a change, wanting to turn the page, and looking for a campaign not only that welcomes them, but can demonstrate we have what it takes to defeat Donald Trump.
In fact, your staff tells me that a lot of your precinct captains will be important tonight at the various caucus sites in terms of rallying support for you. Are a lot of Trump voters that went Obama in 2012, went Trump in 2016, and maybe they're looking for something new. What is your appeal to Trump voters, particularly in rural areas?
Well, it's that this is going to be a campaign that invites everybody in to be part of the solution. It's not saying we're going to agree on everything, but at a time when farmers are getting killed as a result of the trade war, consumers are feeling the impacts of that, the policies...
Pardon me, are farmers being killed by the trade war when the...
Yeah, here's an interesting idea. Why don't we go on Fox News and appeal to the Republican demographic? Because I think they're going to be really excited to be voting for their first homosexual president. That'll definitely help you out. And then yeah, bring up the old farmer deaths. That's this is a good look. This is a good look right before the Iowa primary, for the Democratic Iowa primary, mind you.
The president just signed USMCA into law, and basically that's going to mean jobs for...
It's certainly helpful, the USMCA, especially after the Democrats insisted on some improvements. I think it's a good package, but the trade war never should have happened in the first place. Anyway, my point is, when you see tax policies favoring corporations over the middle class, when you see refinery waivers at the expense of farmers here in the Midwest, there is an opportunity to talk to voters who maybe haven't really connected with the Democratic message in a long time. But it's not just about what we're against, it's about what we're for. The idea of making sure that we're dealing with climate change, that we're delivering an economy where one job can be enough, that we're supporting rural communities as well as parts.
And if I know anything about the American electorate, especially the Republican side, they're deeply invested in climate change. So that should be your first point to drive home. Yes, look, Republican voters, let me pull you across the aisle to the wonderful, warm embrace of the Buttigieg. And in this warm and wonderful place, we'll talk about one job for all.
Of our cities that have been left behind.
But you said a moment ago about bringing people together and reach out to Trump voters, and yet you were on CNN yesterday sort of doubling down on this claim you've made that Trump supporters are, at best, you say, looking the other way on racism. And then the president at the Super Bowl has an ad last night that quotes Alice Johnson, an African-American woman who got a second chance because of the president. Let's play that clip and you can react.
Oh, it's tough to be a centrist, isn't it? If you want to be a fence sitter, I mean, it's hard. You got to go on CNN one day and appeal to your own demographics and obviously talk about the deeply entrenched, rooted racism of the country. And then if you go on Fox News the next day, they might remember that thing just happened, and they're going to gotcha moment right now. So Pete, look at this face. This is the pre-gotcha moment face. I just really want to talk to my campaign manager and find out what the fuck am I doing here? What was the point of me being here in the first place? Because ain't no Republican voting for me.
I'm free to start over. This is the greatest day of my life. My heart is just bursting with gratitude. I want to thank President Donald John Trump.
How can you attack not just the president, but 63 million people in America who voted for him when you have African-American women like Alice Johnson saying, this is a president who gave me a second chance?
You know,
This is great, because I'm loving this on both fronts. You got Pete Buttigieg coming on the Fox News trying to appeal to Republican voters to vote for him, which is just unusual for a number of reasons, but sure. Let's play that. I mean, he's not polling very well, so let's Hail Mary this opportunity. And then, of course, you've got Fox News doing what Fox News does best, which is some strange spin on the whole situation. So them being like, yeah, so based on the testimony of one African-American woman, President Trump can't be racist. That's science. We've already established that. We have the video here. All right, Pete, would you like to see the video of one African-American woman talking about President Trump? Is that what you want to see? Okay, you've seen it now. So now what do you say? Now you, who've talked a little bit about systemic racism, clearly wrong, are you spitting in the face of all 63 million Americans who thought otherwise? Is that why you're here?
I think that President Trump's decision to sign the First Step Act when it came to his desk is one of the handful of things I could actually agree with him on. It doesn't change the incredibly cruel and divisive racial rhetoric that comes out of this White House that is one of the many reasons that I'm meeting not only Democrats but Republicans who tell me that they struggle to look their children in the eye and explain to them how this is the president of the United States.
But are you the right messenger to question the president on race when, as mayor of South Bend, as you know,
nice.
Black leaders were quite critical of what you did, particularly in terms of police-involved shootings and other matters you've litigated?
I had no idea that Fox News would be a hostile environment for my particular brand, but now that I'm here, it's awkward.
People to animals. He is wrong to assault entire cities in his tweets. And again, you don't have to be a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat to know that's wrong, just as a lot of Republicans in Congress and Senate, even if they're providing cover for the president, can't actually bring themselves to say that he's a good leader. And it's revealing. Look, this is an opportunity to turn the page on this president, and frankly, within my party, to turn the page on some of the internal fights that we had in 2016.
Okay, so are you the man to lead that effort? There's an op-ed that the Washington Post ran over the weekend about your leadership, the experience you bring to the table. It's a mayor from out in California, Christine Shea, who writes, "It takes a huge ego to think that mayoral experience alone would empower anyone to hit the West Wing running. Going from local politics to the Situation Room, from leading a town of a few 100,000 to a country of 330 million, the chance of a rookie mistake is high, and the stakes could not be higher." That's Mayor Christine Shea.
Well, I agree that the stakes could not be higher. I also think that Washington experience is maybe not the kind of establishment experience that we're seeing out there that's traditionally what people expect in a presidential candidate, is not what Americans are looking for. The experience of being on the ground, leading a city, and we have a little bit of a different system in Indiana where, for example, there's no such thing as a city manager in my city. You are the executive and there is no one else to call. But it's not just that. If we're talking about the Situation Room, maybe it's time to actually have somebody in that Situation Room who knows what it is to be sent into war on the orders of an American president. So not only in terms of the experience I bring to the table, and look, let's be honest, this is a job that should be daunting for any human being. And yet every person who's ever done it, the good presidents, the bad presidents, and the in-between presidents, one thing they have in common is that they're mere mortals and human beings.
You should be saluted for your service to our country. You just mentioned your military.
Unlike me, of course, who is a god, so bow before your new lord and savior, Pete Buttigieg.
Experience.